The facts matter.
Good morning, everyone. Virgo here. It is April 8th, 2020, and happy Wednesday to everyone. So I have a question for all of you subscribers that have been following the scenario with Rise of the Moors. This is going to be a video specifically pertaining to Jamal, who calls himself Jamal Abdullah Bey. This is a party that we have been watching for a while. Why? Because of scenarios like this. And my question for everybody is, after I go over a few things of what is happening right this very moment, and I give you some inside information on some things that a couple of individuals have expressed to me privately in their concerns with regards to this group of individuals and the Moorish American Consulate, my question for you will be, when is it going to be enough? When is it time that this specific scenario that's going on now, which is clearly mobilization with the intent to do serious damage, at what point do people need to start paying attention and start processing documentation to go over and turn this stuff in? Before I get started with that, something that I didn't inform you guys of before because I didn't have a resolution for it at that point, and I still don't have one completely. But about a week and a half ago, I received a very, very serious threat. It was an extremely serious threat. My dogs were mentioned in it, and of course a bunch of ad hominem attacks. But even more than that, apparently, I don't know because I didn't actually open any attachments. My Proton Mail blocks all attachments because people send me things all the time that I may not want to see. So unless it's a trusted source, if there happens to be a threat attached to it, it will go to law enforcement. I was informed, however, after the fact, that what was forwarded to me was basically child abuse, I'll put it like that. And it was of a particular type that was making it very clear of what the plan to do to me supposedly was. Let's put it that way. Something that you guys need to be aware of is that when you use an email such as Proton Mail or Hush Mail or any of those archived type of emails that claim that it's encrypted so much so that there's no way to actually get to who it is that sent out the email. Oh, let me get rid of this. I don't know what's going on with this particular screensaver, but it's definitely got a problem or screen recorder definitely has a problem lately. So, it's not true. Regardless of where the server is located, whether it's out of the country or not, like Proton Mail is in Switzerland, for example, if you think you're going to get away with sending something that is illegal, such as this sort of threat of physical harm, the FBI is able to go to the actual company and link it back to the IP address that actually sent it, or the saved email that is a recovery email, or both. So, just to let you guys know, don't believe it for a second. In the event that you are using Proton Mail, TUSH Mail, Hush Mail, or any other supposed fully safe, what do you call that? Well, any of those that claim that it's encrypted to the point that law enforcement cannot get into it, that is not true. So that is important information for anybody who may in the future think that they can use that in order to make threats. It can be obtained, as this in this scenario has been obtained at this point. Now, it may take a while. For example, this has taken almost 2 weeks. But the scenario with this is that it links directly up to these people. And so that is something that's ongoing, and I will let you know about later in terms of what's going to be done about it. But I did want to give you that warning. Okay, so with regards to this, take a look at this photo and the statement that's being made here. When they stop horning, the treaty and paperwork is no longer honored. What is the Moorish nation to do next? And then look at the picture. All right, so they claim that they're not attempting to harm anyone. They claim that they are not threatening in any way, shape, or form law enforcement or anybody else, but yet they continue to incite anger through statements like this. Okay, so this was forwarded to me from one of my subscribers. And at the same exact time, this is what's going on over on Rise of the Moors. This is currently live right now, and the name of the video is Writing on the Wall. And what this is a talk about what they think they're legally allowed to do based on case law on something that doesn't pertain to anything at all like what they are talking about here. But in the chat, you have people talking about, well, the case law that I've read states that you can use up to lethal force against police officers, for example. A totally opposite, a totally different scenario. But yet they're cherry picking that out of the case law. Now that's what's going on in the chat. But what's going on in the actual live video is they're going through some of their actual books, so on and so forth, like the Noble Drew Ali written Quran and so on and so forth. And they are actually reading what gives them justification to be able to attack. All right? So at what point do we begin to get concerned? At what point is it no longer LARPing, but now becoming dangerous? Now, you guys know that I've been warning about this for a long time at this point. For well over 3 years, we've been sitting back and we've been watching groups. But only recently did someone come to me and actually explain to me what is going on underground with these several groups. Now, I am not in any way speaking of the Temple Moors. Totally different scenario. And what's really sad about this is the Moorish American, the Temple Moors, the Moorish American Science Temple, is having their organization's name dragged through the mud because of these people, these groups. The information that has come to me from an inside source is that these group of individuals are actually finding out the names of police officers, attorneys, judges, politicians that they feel have done them some sort of harm or haven't acted as they feel that they should. They're getting all the information on these individuals that they can, be it home addresses, photos of their family, so on and so forth. And during their meetings, they pass this information around to one another so that all of them know who these parties are, where they live, who their families are, where they work, etc. Now, I don't have any additional information on that as of yet, but it was actually a Moor, or a previous Moor, that confirmed that information for me. So this is something to take into consideration also. But what we have to question ourselves about, I think, is the fact that we've watched them go from defrauding through paperwork to attempting to steal homes to attempting to claim that they can rule everybody. And that's all make-believe. That's all having fun, LARPing. You can call it whatever you want to. The bottom line is these people actually that are at the top of each one of these pyramids of scammers, they all know that what they're saying is actually not factual. Okay, now whether they have deluded themselves into a scenario where they believe they can make this stuff happen, that's another story and another type of mental disorder altogether. But in the beginning, they all knew. See, these are like petulant children that are looking for attention and trying to gather strength, very similarly to the way that at one point the Black Panther Party did, and certain things even that they claimed. Somehow mixed in with the soft movement junk, paperwork, and, fraud that they pushed. And then mixed in with a little weatherman, too, underground weatherman. Or the weatherman underground, whichever way you want to put it. Which were total anarchists. I mean, we've watched them go to that extreme to now believing that because they're not being acknowledged, like a child with ADHD, now it's time to bring out literally the big guns. And this is how it happens. If you watch the progression, I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but there's a show that is on, I believe it's Netflix. It may actually also be on Amazon Prime. But it takes you through the steps of Ted Kaczynski. Now, that's a scary name to a lot of people. And if you don't know who Ted Kaczynski is, please look him up. Please look him up. Because he started out as a person who was very, very driven. He had a good mind on him. He was a mathematical scholar, went to a very good school. But then something happened, and it got him very upset. As to be perfectly honest with you, I can see how that could happen in this scenario with the Moors, the so-called Moors also. All that has to happen is somebody close to them be unjustly arrested and hurt in some manner, or to grow up in an area that they are constantly having to fear for their own safety. And instead of using actual law or becoming an advocate for civil rights or what have you, they generally will go through some process that incites anger or rage. For some, that's the military, and for whatever reason, there's an issue there. For some, there may be violence in their history, or they may feel that they're not being heard. And something switches. And that's exactly what happened to Ted Kaczynski. And unfortunately, because that gentleman happened to be so incredibly intelligent, he became a very, very scary individual and something that absolutely needed to be feared. And boy, did he have a lot of people scared. And no one knew who he was. And if you haven't taken the time to actually watch a documentary on him or watching the progression of how that happened, you should. There are also individuals that just get very angry when they are not being uplifted by who they perceive as their own community. Now, I don't know what the story is here with Jamal. I don't know how this happened. But I do know taking out your anger on anybody that you perceive as an enemy, regardless of whether they truly are or not, and assuming that everybody around you is somehow a bigot, and assuming that you have specific rights because you have misunderstood what your claim to a specific treaty that says nothing about anything that you are pushing in reality. Doesn't give you the rights that you think it does. But when you begin to run something like that's, we'll say, cultish, and you've got a lot of people from below you, as you perceive it to be, pushing for you to continue to do as much damage as you possibly can, you will find ways to do those things in order to keep your following. And if there's any slippage of any sort, you will amp things up yourself, because now you have become, you've come to rely on that type of praise. And I believe this is how a lot of these leaders lose themselves. If you watch the beginnings of Jim Jones, for example, any of these individuals who are put in a place of power because of their fringe beliefs, and then the narcissism within those people begin to rely on that constant praise from their followers. They begin to rely on the constant income stream from their followers. This will probably be taken down after I talk about it here, but I would think it would be a good idea for as many people to witness this as possible, and perhaps even make a copy of it. I am going to make a final statement here, and that is, the individuals who are showing up on my channel and making comments with regards to the claim that I'm somehow bashing these individuals, looking out for yourself, your community, be it online or in your own neighborhood, because you are watching a group of individuals that is consistently putting in front of your face, we're going to do this to you, we're going to do this to others, look out because here we come. That's not bashing when you're notifying people of that. That is keeping yourself and your community safe, be it online or in your neighborhood. You, unfortunately, are no longer welcome on the Virgo Triad channel, because the minute that discourse stops and the minute that you start making attacks that make virtually no sense whatsoever, the minute that you start making claims to attempt to try to smear any time this channel, you will be removed from it, because your opinion, when it's totally out of context, is no longer relevant. And in this scenario, it's no longer relevant. Oops. There we go. In this scenario, it's no longer relevant And it's also no longer any use to anybody else that's commenting on this channel. Your attempt is clear, and you're welcome to your opinion, but not on this channel. So stay on your side of the lane, and you can continue to make sock puppet accounts if you like, but they'll just continue to be removed. They'll never get through to where anybody else can see them, because I know who you are. So I apologize for that cryptic statement, but it needed to be said. Okay, so I will keep you abreast of what I find out with regards to the email and the threat. This is probably one of the worst threats that I've ever seen. Not just received, but actually ever seen. I am not at this point legally allowed to show it, and if I did, it would immediately be removed from YouTube. It is very serious. But I will keep you abreast of it. In addition to that, I want to make sure that everybody pay close attention to this group. This is what mobilization looks like, and it is something we need to be concerned about. This is not fear porn. This is absolutely something we need to be concerned about. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.